The cockpit alarm is screaming. A billion-dollar U.S. stealth fighter, a marvel of modern engineering, is being tossed around like a paper plane. Outside, the sky is black, lit only by jagged veins of lightning, and the wind is a monstrous, unpredictable beast. The pilot, trained to the peak of human capability and backed by the most advanced technology on Earth, is fighting a losing battle. He is about to eject over a raging ocean. Then, through the chaos, he sees it, a tiny, prop-driven search and rescue plane, its fuselage battered, its engine roaring with effort. It shouldn't be flying. It should have been ripped apart. Yet, it's dancing with the storm. It's defying physics. And its pilot isn't screaming. His focus, his islander. How did a small nation, often dismissed on the global stage, forge pilots who could navigate hell itself, leaving the world's most powerful military absolutely stunned? This is the unbelievable story of the storm-forged heroes of the Philippines. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean is a beautiful, deceptive beast, its deep blue waters hiding currents that can swallow entire islands. But it's the air above it that truly holds a danger, a chaotic ballet of winds and weather patterns that can change in a heartbeat. The most frightening of these is a washing machine, a term whispered with dread by pilots from every nation. It's a localized, unpredictable vortex of turbulence, capable of shredding conventional aircraft and leaving even the most advanced, billion-dollar U.S. Air Force jets struggling for control, their fly-by-wire systems overwhelmed. For decades, it was considered unnavigable, a deadly anomaly, a no-fly zone dictated not by politics, but by nature's absolute fury. This story begins at the 20th Annual International Air Power Symposium, a prestigious gathering of the world's elite pilots and military strategists in Honolulu, Hawaii. Major General Thomas Tex Sterling of the U.S. Air Force, a decorated war hero and a pillar of the global military community, was leading a panel discussion. He was discussing the strategic implications of the washing machine, emphasizing its absolute impenetrability and the technological advancements being developed to circumvent it. He spoke with absolute certainty, his voice a commanding rumble that filled the auditorium, leaving no room for doubt. For General Sterling, this was a scientific fact, a battle won by nature, for now. But then, a voice, calm and steady, rose from the back of the room. Respectfully, General, we do not circumvent it. We fly it. All eyes turned to a small man with a weathered face and a slight accent, wearing the insignia of the Philippine Air Force, Captain Gabriel Gabo Santos. General Sterling paused, a slight smile playing on his lips, the kind a seasoned professional gives a student. Captain, I appreciate the spirit of your people, but courage alone is no match for a physics problem. We are talking about forces that can break a jet fighter. Your propeller planes, I believe they are called, would be shredded. The room erupted in polite, but pointed, laughter, a subtle, collective dismissiveness that hung heavy in the air. General Sterling's comment wasn't just dismissive. It was a public declaration of inferiority. It implied that the Philippines, a nation that had for years served as a strategic hub for the U.S., was now a backward entity, its pilots flying relics and their knowledge irrelevant. Gabo didn't flinch. He just nodded and took his seat, but his eyes, a deep, dark pool of determination, were fixed on the general. In that moment, a challenge was silently accepted. It wasn't a challenge for glory or recognition. It was a challenge for respect, for his country, for his training, and for the generations of pilots who had mastered the impossible long before the first stealth fighter ever took flight. 2 weeks later, a rescue mission was launched. A U.S. F-22 Raptor, executing a high-altitude patrol, had been caught in a sudden, violent expansion of the washing machine. Its advanced systems were failing, the turbulence so severe that the pilot was disoriented, struggling to maintain control, and on the verge of ejection. The closest U.S. assets were hours away, and the storm was intensifying. A nearby Philippine Air Force base, hearing the distress call, launched a search and rescue mission. But as they approached, the U.S. command, monitoring from afar, ordered them to abort. The message was clear. This is a U.S. military operation. We do not require assistance from your equipment. Retract to avoid being caught. In the cockpit of his battered search and rescue aircraft, the Bahay Kubo Nipa Hut, Captain Santos heard the command. He also heard the raw fear in the U.S. pilot's voice, a scream that transcended technology and military doctrine. He knew what the washing machine was. He knew it better than any computer model. And he knew that he was the only one close enough to save that pilot's life. He didn't answer the U.S. command. He switched to a private frequency and spoke directly to the U.S. pilot. Raptor 1, this is Bahai Kubo. You are out of your element. I am going to guide you out. Do not resist, just follow. We are going to dance. The U.S. pilot, Lieutenant Mark Viper Jenkins, couldn't believe his eyes. Through the chaotic mess of clouds and lightning, a tiny, prop-driven plane emerged, a relic from another era. It was being battered by the wind, but it wasn't spiraling out of control. It was oscillating. It would be thrown up, then down, then sideways, yet it always seemed to correct itself in a fluid, almost organic way. And it was moving with a confidence that felt alien to Viper. In his advanced, multi-million-dollar jet, he was fighting for survival. This man in his toy plane was commanding the storm. He decided to trust him because he had no other choice. Raptor 1, the key is not to fight the wind. The wind is not your enemy. It is a force, like a wave in the ocean. You do not surf a wave by pushing against it. You surf it by riding its energy, by anticipating its flow. Gabo's voice, calm and steady, came over the radio. He led Viper in a series of strange, counterintuitive maneuvers. They would die when the turbulence seemed to hit, then climb on the very air currents that should have sent them crashing. It was a performance of pure instinct, a deep, embodied understanding of aerodynamics and meteorology that couldn't be quantified or programmed. It was a legacy of generations of Filipino pilots who had navigated typhoons without a single sophisticated instrument. For what felt like an eternity, they danced in the heart of the washing machine. Viper's F-22, designed for stealth and supercruising, was being used in a way its engineers had never imagined, a raw, kinetic fight for survival directed by a man in a plane with a propeller. And slowly, the violent shaking began to subside. The screaming wind outside the cockpit softened. They were moving out of the vortex. And then, with one final, gut-wrenching tone, they broke through the cloud cover and into a tranquil, clear blue sky, the sun a warm embrace after the black, chaotic nightmare they had left behind. When they landed at the U.S. Air Force Base in Guam, a silent crowd had gathered. Viper, pulling off his helmet, climbed down the ladder of his F-22, a machine that now felt less like a futuristic marvel and more like a tool that had found its master. He walked over to the tiny, battered Bahai Kubo, where Captain Santos was climbing out, a slight smile on his face. Viper, a man who had been taught that his nation's air power was absolute, did something unexpected. He saluted Gabo. It wasn't a standard, by-the-book military salute. It was a deep, respectful, emotional expression of gratitude and, more importantly, a profound new respect. He had seen the impossible, and it had been performed by a man General Sterling had laughed at. The debriefing was a tense, somber affair. General Sterling and other top commanders were present, their faces etched with a combination of disbelief and a rising, uncomfortable awareness. The telemetry data was displayed on a large screen, showing the jagged, impossible path the two planes had taken through the washing machine. It was a statistical anomaly, an event that defied their model and understanding of the storm. The U.S. commanders listened in silence as Viper recounted his story, his words painted with a raw, unfiltered emotional resonance that was unusual for a military debrief. He spoke of the fear, the helplessness, and the ultimate, incredible realization that his survival was entirely due to the knowledge and skill of a man and a nation they had dismissed. General Sterling, the man who had publicly belittled Gabo, was forced to confront a reality that was fundamentally incompatible with his previous worldview. He saw the data. He heard the testimony. He saw the genuine, emotional reverence in the eyes of his top pilot. He realized that his dismissal of the Philippines wasn't just a miscalculation. It was a symptom of a systemic, culturally reinforced arrogance that had blinded them to a goldmine of invaluable knowledge. The washing machine, a localized vortex they had declared unnavigable, was not a dead end. It was an opportunity, a place where the art of piloting was paramount, and the technology was merely a tool, not a savior. When it was his turn to speak, Gabo didn't gloat. He didn't mock. He just spoke. The sky, General is a living thing. We do not try to conquer it. We respect it. We listen to it. Our islands are being shaped by its winds, by its waters, by its fire. Our pilots, for generations, have carried that knowledge, that feeling, into the air with us. This is not our technology that allows us to fly the storm. This is our blood. This is our history. His words, a simple, elegant statement of a cultural philosophy, filled the room, carrying a weight that was more profound and undeniable than any statistical data. He was not just a pilot. He was a standard-bearer for a nation's history, a living testament to its resilience and its enduring wisdom. The U.S. military, a vast, complex organization, is not built for humility. It is a machine designed for dominance, for absolute, unyielding power. Yet, the lessons learned in that debrief were impossible to ignore. A secret joint training program was established, a clandestine operation hidden from public view, where the elite of the U.S. Air Force came to the Philippines to learn the art of storm flying. They were not here to teach. They were here to learn. They learned to feel the wind, to anticipate the turbulence, to understand the weather patterns in a way that couldn't be quantified by any sensor. They stripped away the layers of technology and ego, connecting with a raw, visceral understanding of flight that had been lost in the pursuit of pure, unadulterated power. General Sterling, the man who had started it all with his public display of dismissiveness, was a central figure in this new, secretive program. He became a vocal advocate for this newfound wisdom, championing a shift in training and perspective that was met with resistance at first. He traveled to the joint training facilities, not to supervise, but to observe, to understand, and to ensure that this invaluable, culture-driven knowledge was integrated into the core of the U.S. military's aerial combat philosophy. The washing machine, once a symbol of nature's impenetrable dominance, had become a proving ground for a new breed of pilot, a warrior who was as at home in the storm as he was in the calm, clear skies. Years later, a group of U.S. F-35 Lightning II fighters, the pinnacle of modern aviation technology, was caught in another washing machine during a routine training exercise. This time, the outcome was different. The pilots didn't fight the storm. They didn't struggle to maintain control. They didn't rely solely on their advanced systems. They danced. They rode the air currents. They anticipated the turbulence. They performed a flawless, breathtaking ballet of pure, unadulterated skill, a testament to the storm-forged knowledge they had inherited from their unexpected, and at one point, mocked mentors from the Philippines. It was a victory not just of human potential, but of a global understanding of flight, a connection forged in the heart of nature's fury. The washing machine is still there, a localized, chaotic, and terrifying vortex of winds that can break a less prepared aircraft. But on global weather and flight monitors, it is no longer marked with the dreaded no-fly symbol. It is now classified as navigable severe turbulence. This shift in classification, a subtle but significant change on a small piece of data, is a tangible testament to the enduring power of respect, of cultural collaboration, and of the unique, a culture-driven knowledge that can be found in the most unexpected of places. It is a symbol of a victory over nature's fury, not through dominance, but through profound, a deep-seated, and a lasting respect. The story of Gabo and Viper, of the Baha'i Kubo and the F-22 Raptor, is a testament to the power of human connection, of cultural collaboration, and of the unique, a culture-driven knowledge that can be found in the most unexpected of places. It is a story that began with a moment of dismissiveness and pride, but it is one that ended in a deep, and a lasting understanding. It is a story of a moment of insult that forged a new, a profound, a lasting respect, a respect that has, in some small way, made the sky a less terrifying and a more navigable place for pilots from every nation. It is a story that reminds us that, sometimes, the greatest wisdom can be found in the heart of nature's most ferocious storm.